Hello and welcome to Gersnet. It's your Rangers podcast. It's a podcast made by fans for fans. As always, you're very, very welcome. Sunday night again. We should say a quick hello to our good friends at Zenith Coins. These guys are currently pulling together a must-have for all Rangers supporters. It is the Rangers coin collection. 5 beautifully crafted coins celebrating our history and all the good things that have happened in 150 years. There's one there for the founding fathers. There's one there for Ibrox Stadium, another for the Barcelona Bears of 1972. Something that celebrates the 9 in a row, guys, which is really special. And the one that sort of creams it off, the most recent one, is the guys that won 55, the 55th League Championship from last season. You can check out their website, all the W's, zenithcoins.com. Good evening, you're very welcome. It's Sunday night and it's Scott Paterson with you here at Gersnet. We'll be here for the next 45 minutes to an hour or so, speaking about an impressive afternoon for Rangers up at Dens Park. And joining us on the pod this week is Colin, Armstrong and Gary Valentine. Colin, hello, how are you?
I'm very well, Scott, how are you?
Yes, very well, buddy. A decent afternoon, wasn't it?
Yeah, good performance. Good afternoon all round, actually. Out and about with the dog early afternoon and then back to watch the football. And as comfortable a performance as I can remember. Certainly away from home, our away form's been a bit atrocious of late. And I remember the last visit up to Dens at the early part of the season, that was a bit of a nerve-wracker. Nothing like that today, no routine finish. The only sort of down point of the day for me is that we didn't score more. That's a slight concern that we had so many chances and never really killed the game off until the sort of closing stages. But no, overall, great performance and a good result.
Gary, hello. This is our first Sunday night together.
It is. Hopefully not the last.
Absolutely. Well, absolutely.
Get a room used to, for Christ's sake.
Absolutely looking forward to it. Great to meet you. Thanks for coming on. Thank you.
No bother.
So we'll reverse, Colin. We'll start with you. I want to reverse to team selection. I think everyone expected there to be a wee bit of rotation for the game this afternoon from the highs of Red Star Belgrade last Thursday. We of course saw McLaughlin and Hollander, Sands, and a guy that we've brought in from Juventus called Aaron Ramsey all start today.
Yeah, I have to. I made a bit of an arse of myself today, actually. When the team came out, as I said, I was out and about with my wife, my daughter, and the dog, and I'm not used to Ramsey not starting. I just looked at the subs. I just says in the subs. And when he was there, I messaged my mate going, he's not even in the squad again. This is becoming embarrassing. And then I looked at the team and I had to go back to him and was, scratch that, he's starting. Great to see him. Great to see Ramsey start. I think it's his second start, but starting the previous round of the Scottish.
Started against Annan, yeah, aye.
So great to see him. I'd like to see him at Ibrox, I must admit. I've still not seen him in the flesh yet. So good to see him. I expected Hollander to start the day, I must admit. I think he needs games. I think I said in a previous show that in his last performance he looked like a guy that hadn't played a huge amount of football. So I expected him. Also, I expected Roof. I thought he would maybe have got a start today. I was a wee bit surprised at that. A wee bit surprised that Sands coming in, but I thought the boy done well. I'm sure we'll come on and talk about the performances, but you would have to say that he got his starting 11 correct today.
So Gary, the thing that got me in, and Colin's kind of alluded to it already, was Sands coming in, and generally the way that the team was picked, it almost looked like we were a bit concerned about what Dundee were going to do from an offensive perspective. I almost felt that the starting 11 was really sort of set up to sit in almost. There was names in there that I maybe didn't expect to see.
Yeah, possibly, but when I seen the team, I kind of thought the same, but after Thursday's game, when you see Kamara playing a bit further forward, looked like he'd done that again today. So it was really kind of only Sands was sitting, but you've got to start with with the aim not to concede first and then get the goals. And Van Bronckhorst seems to be wanting to do that, and it's the last 4 games now for a clean sheet, so it seems to be working.
Colin, I kind of, we've almost became accustomed to, more often than not, this 4-3-3. I think in the 3 up top, we've became used to there almost not being a natural right winger there. Arguably, perhaps since Daniel Candeias, we've not really had a natural sort of guy to play attacking right wing. And when I seen the team, my gut reaction was it was going to be like a 4-3-1-2 with Ramsey playing off of Kent and Morelos. But it did actually materialise that Ramsey was sort of playing in that wider right role. And as the game went on, he developed quite a good relationship with Tavernier as the game went on.
Yeah, I mean, I think the best way I can describe Ramsey's performance today was you can tell the guy is a serious footballer.
Absolutely,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
I wouldn't want to say that he was, outstanding and man of the match and all that kind of stuff. But just his touches, his awareness, his reading of the game, you can just tell, and Gary will tell you as well, I know he's done a bit of coaching and stuff in the past. You can just tell sometimes, you know what I mean? You can just tell when someone's on the park that they're a serious football player. And I got that impression for Ramsey today. If we keep him fit, it could be key. I agree. I think what you're talking about with the sort of link-up play with him and Tavernier doing that right-hand side, he was involved in the penalty. It was a lovely wee reverse ball into Tavernier, funnily enough, and we'll come on and talk about the award later on. But yeah, I think everything about him today, his awareness, positional sense, everything about him. I think he should have had a goal. That one that cleared off the line.
Yeah,
I think he should be putting that away, if I'm being honest. But overall, the biggest fear with him is obviously his fitness. But I think we saw enough today to suggest that if we can keep him fit, he'll have a lot to say in the remaining games in the league and the Europa League as well. He can play at his Champions League quality. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He could be a key player and in terms of us progressing to the quarterfinals and maybe beyond.
So Gary, I think it's easy when you're rotating the team. You often speak about the players that come in. Obviously, they went into the game without guys like Lundstrom, Balogun, Arfield misses out. Someone who missed out, who isn't really used to being rested, was Joe Aribo. And I think it was well overdue for him to take a wee spell on the sidelines. He's looking like he's suffering from African Cup of Nations and not really having a proper rest, a proper break.
Yeah, I just think he's not been the same player since he came back for the African Cup of Nations. So I'm glad to see him get a rest. I'm glad to see that we got the result, because before, I think, did they miss a couple of games and we really struggled. So it's good to see that we can put in a good performance without him, because maybe previously other guys weren't willing to take his place and up their game a wee bit.
And Gary, still with you, Colin's obviously mentioned that he maybe expected Roof to be involved from the start today. I was kind of almost the other side of the coin. I expected Morelos to play, but maybe Sakala to start.
I'm unsure about Roof at the moment. I don't know if Van Bronckhorst fancies him that much. So I wasn't shocked to see him not start. But I kind of agree with Sakala. I thought we'd have definitely changed it. But in the form Morelos is in, you need to play him every game. So I think it was kind of, we really got the perfect mix that Morelos started, they done the job, and then they got rested for Thursday and for other games coming up.
Colin, game starts, and I felt Rangers started really quite well. I thought we looked like we were at it. We looked like we were keen to sort of get the tie put to bed as early as possible. Of course, we took the lead on 9 minutes. It was Helander's goal, surely, was it not?
Yeah, my son was watching it sort of the first 10 minutes a day. He was going out to play football, so he sort of missed the majority of the game. But like both of us were thinking, that crossed the line, and even the way he cleared it, it didn't come straight out. It came out at an angle and then hit the bar and came out. But it's just as well Goldson scored it, because I don't think the ref was going to give it, and I don't think the linesman had flagged to say that it crossed the line. So it's probably quite lucky that Goldson reacted, and he did react because he was celebrating as the ball came back to him. He's had to sort of readjust and
it was a cracking finish for a centre half.
It was a good finish.
Really
he's been due it though. Last season he really chipped in with goals. This season I think he's struggled a wee bit in that front. Me and my son used to sort of call him biscuit tin. Every time he come up for a corner, you know what I mean, the ball would go anywhere but in the net. But last season he really chipped in with loads of goals and for set pieces and headers and stuff like that. He's kind of reverted back to type this season, I think.
He could have had a hat trick on Thursday as well.
I know.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that one at the end, I think that's a bad miss. The one on Thursday night, I think that's a really bad miss. And it's comfortable position we're in going into Thursday's game. I still wouldn't like to say that it's put to bed. I think if that goes in, it's done. I just can't see Red Star scoring 5 on the night. So hopefully it'll not be a costly miss. But no, it was a good finish. He took it well, and he's the second player have a kid like 9 months after trophy day, apparently.
What a night that must have been. Goodness me.
Yeah. I always had this romantic. I was born in March '73, and I always had this romantic notion that I was conceived the night Rangers won the Cup Winners' Cup, but the maths don't quite work. so I've changed it now. I was conceived the night that David Bowie played his final concert as Ziggy Stardust at the Hammersmith Odeon. That's the night I was conceived now, because that does kind of work out, that the Cup Winners' Cup doesn't.
So listen, Gary, we obviously speak about the goal that we scored first. Again, it comes from a James Tavernier assist, and he, you know what I mean? Sometimes he gets a hard time. Sometimes people love him. Sometimes people don't love him so much. I seen a couple of graphics after the game on Thursday night. His numbers this season are really quite incredible, aren't they?
Yeah, awesome. Absolutely awesome. I think he's got to be one of the players that people won't realise what he brings to the team until he's no longer with us.
Absolutely.
So I was saying, I kind of laughed with my dad the day we were watching the game together, and I said that I'd seen something on Twitter, like people talk about should Tavernier be in the Hall of Fame and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, people will say that until we get beat, and then it'll be him that gets the blame for it, and we'll want him out the door. But his numbers are incredible, like absolutely incredible. And the thing I laugh at, and I don't know if you see this as well, is that when Van Bronckhorst first came in, the fullbacks they must have been told not to cross the halfway line, and that's like where your like main attacking things came from for the last 4 or 5 years. And I don't know if maybe the more senior players have maybe got to Van Bronckhorst and says, listen, you need to give us a bit more freedom to go forward, and because you were basically taking all those numbers away from what we do. And I'm assuming that the senior players have went to him about it, and knew that Bassey's getting forward, Tab's getting forward, and that staff started scoring the goals again and making all these assists that we've had for the last 4 or 5 years.
Colin, he does get a tough time. There's no two ways about it. And you know what I mean? I'll be honest with you, I've had a bit of a niggle at him myself on occasion. I do think he's in good form just now. He scores again, which we'll come to later on, his 12th goal this season. So for a fullback to get 12 goals this season, he's in relatively decent form. Where do you stand on the James Tavernier debate?
I think the criticism he's received in the past has been warranted. You know what I mean? He has had bad moments, and I think because of that, being played so far forward at times, I think certainly under Warburton he was found out defensively because he was positionally he was pushed so far up. I think the way Gerrard played it, I think he wanted his full backs forward, but I think essentially he was looking for his midfield three. Once Rangers were in the opponent's half, it was up to the midfield three to keep them hemmed in and to protect the central defenders. So his game's changed over the years. He's had good periods, he's had bad periods, but I mean, in terms of being included in the Hall of Fame, I think he's knocking on the door. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
He's and one thing you've got to give him, I think, is his mental strength, his character to come through the sort of criticism that he has come through. And I've given him criticism, I've criticised him on this pod, but I think if it's constructive, then that's fine. But it's not always been constructive with Tab. You get people
jumping on a bandwagon type thing. Yeah, absolutely.
But you get people, as being messaged directly on Twitter and stuff, or Instagram, and people telling them this, that, and the next thing. I think that's when it crosses a line. But his ability just to block that out and keep going, you really have that. That tells you everything you need to know about the guy's character and his mental strength. So he's come through the rough periods, and he contributes when he's on form. You look at his journey. He signed for us when we were in, the division below.
Yeah,
he's took some proper poundings off that mob across the road. He was part of that progress debacle, and last season he lifted the SPL trophy. This year he's on the verge of reaching the quarterfinals of the Europa League. Well, that says a lot about the guy. I think that he's up there in terms of champing on the door, and in terms of getting into the Hall of Fame. He's no better than Gary Stevens. I want to kill that debate. I've seen a few people today saying he's our best right back. since Sandy Jardine, I would stop there. I would say Gary Stevens, certainly in my lifetime, is the best right back the Rangers have had.
Aye, and listen, without you and I sort of showing our age, because I know what Gary's going to say, I'm with you. I think Gary Stevens, he's certainly the best right back I've seen at Rangers.
Yeah.
And I think he would have to go some to sort of dislodge him from that position. I'll tell you what I want to do. I want to speak about a couple of chances that we got in between us going 1-up and eventually getting the penalty midway through the first half. And again, it's Tavernier, 3 assists. He's got 2 wonderful raking balls from right into the back post for Morelos. But I think it was before that. It may have been in between. I apologise if I've got that wrong. He plays a great ball into Aaron Ramsey, who stings the goalkeeper's fingers, Gary. We could really have been out of sight inside the first 20 minutes up there.
Yeah, we should have been. And that was my worry when it was sitting even at 2-0, is that we've always, I've said that a million times on this podcast, we've got a brain fart in us all the time. And if we didn't take our chances, we have been punished. Even this season, 2-0 against Motherwell, for example, just because we couldn't kill off the game. So I was beginning to worry a wee bit, but when the third goal went in, I was quite happy, because that kills the game. It just takes one mistake and then they're back in it. Your heats go down. And as I said previously, it's we've never recovered.
Yeah. Colin, these chances, of course, come at 1-0, so we're not 2-up at that point, but they were all, really good chances. You would expect Morelos to probably score with at least one of them.
Yeah, the ball for Tav and the header, he should be doing better then. I also think Ramsey maybe could have done a wee bit better with his effort. I think he just let the ball go on just that split second too much. I think he had a chance to take a sort of quicker shot, but he's not played a lot of football of late, so you can kind of understand that. But and that's my only complaint really about today is the amount of chances we had and didn't take them. Because okay, it's the cup today and that's fair enough, but in the league campaign we are a few. It's not just the 3 points we've got to worry about with Celtic. It's the goal difference as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So if we get an opportunity to scud a team 3-4-5, we've got to take it. We've got to try and eat into that as much as we can. And I just thought we were a wee bit wasteful today. The Ramsey chance in the second half, as I said, I think he should score that. Sakala had a right bad one, the ball in for Roof. I think he's got to score that. So yeah, there was a few chances that you just thought. It was 3-0 going on 6 or 7, really.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If I've taken all our really good chances, then we've absolutely scudded them today. So that's my only concern from today, is a wee bit wasteful with the chances. And in other days, if you're only 1-0 up, as has been the case, 2-0 up against Motherwell, and then as Gary says, we have a brain fart, and then all of a sudden it's 2 each. These chances that we're missing, they could come back and haunt us. And I'm surprised that we're not being more sort of ruthless, because Gio seems to be saying in a lot of interviews he wants to kill games early. He wants to just finish the game and that's it. So if we start taking these chances, we can do that. We can finish the game early. Take key players off, get them rested, get minutes and other players that are sort of on the periphery trying to get game time. But we're just not doing it. We're just not killing teams off early enough.
So Colin, I'll tell you, I'll stick with you. We're 1-0 up, and Dundee get a free kick on the right hand side and deliver it right in the box, and the big centre half of them, Ashcroft, I think his name, puts one wide of the post. I felt Hollander was a wee bit soft and probably wasn't up as early as maybe I would expect him to be. Not for the first time we've seen him like that this season. I wonder if he's struggling for not getting the game regularity.
Yeah, I did see him when he got up. He was shouting at the referee, and he was sort of suggesting that someone was holding him down. I'm not sure. I think the boy should score, actually. I think it's a good enough chance. I certainly think he should get it on target. And then it's up to McLaughlin whether he can save it or not. But yeah, it's that, you have a chance to sort of pretty much kill the game, and then we don't take it, and then a stupid free kick, and if they score that, it gives them a lift. That said, I mean, their attendance today, the amount of Dundee fans that turned out today, I mean, that must have been
Mark McGee effect, mate.
Yeah, well, maybe, you know what I mean. It's an uninspiring appointment. It has to be said, you know what I mean, and it's a strange one, but can
I just go in there? I was saying to a guy at my work, I can't for the life of me understand how these guys continue to get jobs in football. It really baffles me. Like,
well, we know how Matt McGee got that job. You know what I mean? He's wee ginger pal upstairs who's also got another job in East End of Glasgow. It's staggering that he's still getting a job, to be honest with you. But even taking him into consideration, I think Dundee, the figure I saw the day was 1,200 tickets they sold for that fixture today. That's shocking. That for a top flight club. And Dundee, you know, they've been in the European Cup semi-final back in the 50s or 60s or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, they've had successful periods in their history. They're a big club up there, and I think that's really, really poor. And as players, as you're coming out, the task's big enough as it is. You know, you're trying to beat the champions of Scotland, and you look at how many supporters have turned up. Yeah, I think it's a hard day for them, I think.
Gary, midway through the first half, 24 minutes, wee bit shy on that. Rangers get a penalty. So at first, when I seen it, it was one of the ones, if it's awarded against you, you're raging. I think if it goes in your favour, you're quite delighted. I think generally it was a wee bit soft.
Oh, it's definitely soft. If we got that penalty, I'd be absolutely fuming. but what I did laugh at is in the second half, the exact same thing happened to Ryan Kent on the touchline. The referee waved play on.
That's right. It's unlike them to be inconsistent, isn't it?
Oh, I know. The thing is, you get the penalty, and by the rules, it probably was a foul. So if you get the penalty, you still got to score it, which we did, and it gave us 2-0 lead.
Colin, I know you're busting to speak about the pen.
It's soft. I don't think there's any doubt about that. The one thing, who was the defender? I can't mind who it was.
Sweeney was his name.
He turns his body and sort of goes in with his shoulder a wee bit. I think that's maybe what does it. You know, if he just stands his ground, then you know he's got a stronger case. But I think the fact that he just turned and sort of leaned into him, that's what's done him. But no, I mean just to purely wind up that mob across the road, it was never a penalty. But I'm absolutely delighted that it was a penalty. Get it right up them. You see Tam McManus on Twitter? He's a dick, and he's a proper dick. Honestly, he's just a. You know, when Ryan Kent gets sent off up in Pittodrie for not fouling Scott Brown, it's Scott Brown's cute. Ryan Kent's got to be more clever than that. When it's a penalty like this, you know, he's not saying, Tavernier's very cute. You know, the defender's got to be clever there and no do that. No, it's an embarrassing decision and all that shit. It was soft. There's no denying that. But I think, as Gary said there, with the sort of letter of the law, if you're taking it literally, then and I do think when he turns his sort of shoulder a wee bit, that maybe makes up the referee's mind. But I mean, the referee, that pass back decision as well, that was
bizarre.
That was another strange. Honestly, the standard of refereeing up here is diabolical.
To be honest, I think Dundee should have had a penalty in the second half as well when Roof handballed it. And if that had been going about VAR and things like that, I think they would have got a penalty if VAR had been in place.
Well, I mean, again, this is this notion that VAR will fix everything. I don't agree with that as well. I mean, there was one the day, the Chelsea Newcastle game. It's as blatant a penalty as you'll see. Like Newcastle should have had a penalty, and VAR had a look at it, and no, it's fine. And you know, the same officials that we're complaining about up here in Scotland, they're the guys that are going to be operating it up here.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
That's the problem.
And there's also the fact that I genuinely believe that referees will try and look after one another. So if there is a decision that looks like the referee's got it wrong, if the guy that's running the video assistant ref can find a way of protecting him and sticking with the original decision, I think they'll take that option. You know what I mean? They'll not want to make one another look like mugs and they've got it completely wrong. So I don't think VAR's going to fix everything up here. In fact, I think initially it would be an even bigger shit show than it is now. Yeah. There would just be so much controversy around it.
Certainly for offsides and things, I think it's a good idea. Handballs and things, but
I mean, big decisions become a problem, I think. I mean, I'll paint a picture for you. Don Robertson doesn't know the answer to an incident. So he goes to VAR and then he crosses to Willie Collum to make the decision. So I think for as long as you have the same diddies that are largely incompetent week in, week out, and you don't change these guys or you don't improve the quality of the refs, we'll continue to have this rolling discussion about how good or not they are. And the sad reality is at the moment, they're getting a doing because they're making big decisions wrongly.
Yeah,
and that goes across that's not just a Rangers thing, it's across the board in the country. It's just the way it is.
Yeah,
it's not even just that they're getting it wrong. It's fairly obvious decisions that they're getting wrong. Like that back pass today. I mean, that was never a back pass.
Absolutely.
That should have been a corner kick. That's a basic call for a referee and a linesman to make, and they get it wrong. So yeah, and again, coming back to VAR, it's, to me, like the goal line technology is fantastic, because that is definitive. The minute that ball crosses the line, the referee's watch goes, apart for that one last season, which was pretty blatant. But that's been the one blip so far. That's definitive. It's clear cut. It's no up for debate. With other decisions, when it comes to VAR, it's all about interpretation and who's seen it and what they think they're seeing. And so, honestly, that one today at Chelsea, it's a shocking decision. It's an absolutely shocking decision that how Newcastle never got a penalty. Everyone in the ground thinks it's a penalty, apart from the guy sitting watching it on the screen, and he says it's not a penalty. So he doesn't say to the referee, go and review it, that there could be a foul here. And while there's interpretation and while it's up for debate, decisions are going to go different ways. I think if we'd had VAR in Scotland at Tannadice a couple of weeks ago, that first penalty claim, the handball one, I don't think VAR's going to change that. I'll be honest with you. I think they would stick with the referee decision.
Yeah. And then, listen, Chelsea v Newcastle, the derby of morals today, wasn't it?
Yeah, I know. I quite liked, what was it that the Chelsea fans are singing, Boris Johnson, he's coming for you, to the Newcastle fans, because Newcastle fans were giving them a bit of stick, obviously, and then in fact, were Newcastle fans in today?
I'm not sure.
They must be, because they'll have sold those tickets previously. It's from here on. It's here on. So
that's maybe the reason that there was no tickets for Dundee. Maybe they've got a Russian shareholder or something. I don't know to sell any more tickets.
Well, they had a couple of dodgy Italians a few years ago, didn't they?
They did. You can forget them. Goodness me. Gary, I'll tell you, I'll stick with you. Sakala comes on at half-time alongside Roof, so we give a really nice rest to Morelos. I think an overdue rest to Morelos, in a similar vein to Aribo. Kamara takes some time out as well. Sakala looked really busy when he came on, I thought. As we spoke, there was a couple of moments where he was a wee bit wasteful. However, I don't think you can fault his endeavour and his effort in the second half. I thought was quite impressive.
Well, his attitude's fantastic. If you can bottle that, you make a lot of money.
Absolutely.
But I think you're talking about players for back in the day and whatever as well. But I've always been told that he's very similar to Ted McMahon. Again, I'm not old enough to remember him, but I think that's the way he's going to be. That he's got to be very erratic, and he doesn't think he's got to do, let alone anybody else. Yeah. You see, his goals for Comfort being mainly a sub's brilliant. He's just scored a few goals. He should have had another one today. Maybe kept his head on side. But again, that's his enthusiasm is brilliant. I think it actually carries on to other players in the team as well.
Colin, I've said before, as far as Sakala is concerned, there's a wee tiny bit of the Nacho Novos around him. And by that, I mean, technically not the greatest, but my goodness, he really tries his hardest every time he crosses the white line.
Yeah, and I think that's what any supporter looks for, innit? I've always felt that. It doesn't matter. I've heard supporters moaning about certain players and the money that they've cost and all the rest of it. And my view's always been like, it's not his fault that this fee's been attached to him. That's between the clubs that buy and sell. So I've never been one for having a go at players for that. I just look at what they give us. Did they try? Did they put everything into it? Did they leave it all out in the pitch? That kind of thing. And he certainly does that. What I mean? He's got a big heart. And he keeps going. And that's that. You've mentioned sort of Ted McMahon and Nacho Novo. He's sort of determination to keep going no matter how many chances he misses. It reminds me a wee bit of Ali. I'm not going to say he's going to reach the heights that Ali made, but that's certainly something McCoy was never scared of missing. He would go again and just keep going, and it would eventually come right from him. And that's what happened today with Sakala. He had a couple of bad misses. He had that goal chopped off for offside, and that was a tasty finish, by the way. Aye. And then he eventually gets his goal. So he's definitely got a bit about him in terms of, again, his character and his determination to keep on going. He needs to bin that fucking Ronaldo celebration.
No, he does.
He
really does.
Aye.
I think you're keen for him to have an individuality. Do you know, develop your own
Yeah.
celebration. You don't have to
Yeah.
copy what these guys are doing, because you
I-
speak
I-
fanboy almost. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do think there's a bit of tongue in cheek with it. You know, I do think he's kind of ripping the piss a wee bit, but even still, it's not a good look. You know what I mean? Because the slow motion replay today showed you him doing it, an empty, empty Dens part, not a soul there. You know what I mean? And he's going, "Zhee," and you're just like, "Oh, big man, let that go. That you need to stop that part."
Absolutely. Gary, I'll tell you, one of the things I do want to speak about, we know that Ramsey had an effort cleared off the line before we got the third with Scala right to the death. But in between then, Ryan Kent goes off with what looks like maybe quite a nasty injury at a really crappy time with Thursday coming up. Now, I've not clocked to see what the damage is in that, and I don't know if Gio spoke about it post-match, but he's one player that I think we really need to make sure is on the flight to Serbia this week.
100%. He's one of our best players. So I was a bit worried when I seen him coming off and then got strapped up in that with the ice afterwards. Yeah. So fingers crossed it's not as bad as it potentially looked as he came off.
Colin, you don't want to go to Belgrade without Ryan Kent, do you?
Well, one thing I'd say about Ryan Kent is he's playing really well, but his numbers are poor this season. You know, his assists and goals are pretty poor. So he's, as much as he's causing havoc, there's not a lot of, you know, you're not getting a lot of sort of direct impact from him in terms of assists and goals.
Yeah.
But you still want him on that flight, you know what I mean? And Gio spoke about it after the game. He says it was just an impact thing and he should be fine. So I think he will be on the flight. Sorry, Gary.
I was going to say, the thing about Ryan Kent is even if he isn't hitting the numbers and things like that, he's a distraction. Teams will put two players on him and it allows other players to maybe make an impact. But I agree with what you're saying. Sometimes he doesn't do enough, but even his presence on the park is a worry for other teams.
Yeah. I think if he'd hit, in terms of his numbers anyway, anything like what he done last season, I think we'd be top of the league right now. You know what I mean? I do think we've missed, you know, goals for the sort of same areas we got them last season. I was talking about Colin Goldson earlier on. You know, we've not got the same amount of goals for him this season. We've not had the same amount in terms of goals from Ryan Kent and stuff like that. And that has an impact. You know what I mean? That's games that you're maybe drawing, and there has been a lot of draws, especially at Ibrox this season. You know, these guys chip in with goals at vital times. That changes a draw to a win. And so yeah, it's just a mild criticism of Ryan Kent I've got at the moment. I think he needs to start having a bigger impact in terms of goals and assists.
Colin, we finished the game across the centre of the pitch with James Sands, who I thought was excellent today.
Yeah.
But special word to Northern Ireland's Charlie McCann and Alex Lowry. Big day for the youth academy, seeing these guys, you know what I mean, or seeing the management team have the faith in these guys to see the game out. I thought it was a real pat in the back for these three today. Yeah,
it's good. I mean, Lowry's been a revelation since he came in. You know,
absolutely.
Thought he played really well against Stirling Albion that night, and he got an assist today. You know what I mean? And that means he's one assist behind Ryan Kent. I think. You know what I mean? It's just, you know, that's the sort of thing I'm talking about. But it was, you know, he timed the sort of the timing of the pass well. You know, he moved it on at exactly the right time. It gave Sakala a chance to take that good touch and get it away. So yeah, it's all minutes and legs. It's all about experience for guys like Lowry and McCann. You know, they're getting in there and finding out what it's about in terms of playing for Rangers and cup competitions and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, and as I've said before on the show, you know, the Dutch trust young players.
Absolutely.
You know, if Lowry keeps going the way he's going, especially Lowry, I think you might see him feature quite a lot next season. You know, he's getting these sort of cameos here and there at the moment, but if he's continuing to develop, you know, the Dutch, I mean, you only have to look at Barry Ferguson. Me and John McCallum were having a beer or two in Glasgow a few months back, and Barry Ferguson came up as a topic, and he was very much of the opinion if Walter Smith had stayed as the manager, then Barry Ferguson wouldn't have been the player that he was at Rangers, because he just wouldn't have got the opportunity. And I tend to agree, you know, because he wasn't really getting a huge amount of game time. Dick Advocaat arrives, boom, he's in every week. He's the guy we're building this team around. So I'm not saying that's what's going to happen with Lowry, but if he wants to get opportunities in the first team, then I think somebody like Van Bronckhorst is that type that would do that.
And Gary, one of the things that I think is quite fascinating about Lowry is his enthusiasm when he's always looking to drive forward when he has the ball at his feet. He's very rarely looking for a side pass or moving back the way. He's always looking to progress with the ball and create something. I think he's a really exciting prospect. We'll be watching his development with a lot of excitement over the next couple of years, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I think that because he plays a bit further forward, maybe give him more of a chance, because we've got quite a lot of like sitting midfielders. So I think being more attacking it will certainly help him with opportunities. I don't know if I've told this story before, but a few years ago I went to Auchenhowie to watch one of the youth teams train, and at that point Lowry had the long hair and everything,
Of course,
so he stuck out a wee bit. And see, even then, that must have been 2-3 years ago, he stood out then. So I've always kind of kept a wee eye on him. Obviously because of the hair now, since he did stand out. But I'm all over youth players getting an opportunity. It doesn't happen enough for me at Rangers, so it's good to see that like the day two of them got an opportunity, and even King and previously has been getting a chance as well. So it's great for the future. I just hope it continues.
How old's Lowry? 18?
I think he's 18,
18.
I'm sure he was under 16s when I seen him. I'm sure he was under 16s.
So you think about it, like 6-7 years ago, he'd have been sitting watching Super Sunday, watching Aaron Ramsey play for Arsenal, and knew he's sharing a dressing room. And as an experience for that guy, I mean the day he walks in and sits in the same dressing room as Aaron Ramsey, not only is he playing for Rangers, he's sitting next to an absolute global superstar. Yeah. So it's great experience for these young guys. You know what I mean? Because not that long ago, they were sitting watching these players wanting to be professional football players.
I've said previously when we had Defoe in and around the place, and there was a big thing made about the relationship they had built with some of the younger strikers at the club and all the good things that he was trying to teach them. And the boy Mabudi, who of course is now moved on, I'm sure he's down at Watford just now. He was learning so much from him, just sponging it all in. And I remember reading an interview that he had done, I think it was with the club press actually, and he said that beforehand he had only really recognised Jermaine Defoe as the guy he had seen on Match of the Day or when he was playing FIFA. And as you rightly say, Colin, all of a sudden he's sort of sharing a changing with him.
Yeah,
it's just incredible.
It's for young players, it's not just about getting minutes on park. It's about the whole experience. Of playing at a professional football club on day-to-day basis, training, all that kind of thing, and being exposed to players like that, and picking up, good habits, diet, all that kind of thing. There's no doubt about it. For Lowry and McCann and all those young boys that were sitting in that dressing room today, sitting next to somebody like Aaron Ramsey, I mean, it's just an incredible experience. You know what I mean?
Huge deal.
And one that will go on. That's something. Wherever they end up in their careers, that's something they'll look back on and they'll be able to say, well, you know what, I played for Rangers and I was sitting next to Aaron Ramsey when I was getting changed.
I just hope the guys appreciate the opportunity they've got, because there's a lot of young players who get these opportunities and blow it, and it's not till it's too late they realise that.
I think there's a lot of truth in that. You kind of the youth of today kind of come through and, do you know what I mean, this guy's going to the next best thing, or he plays like him, and then they get to 21, sometimes not as late as that, and it just falls on its arse. And I think there has to be a time where that has to change, and you have to hope that the current setup at the training centre is encouraging the guys to look after themselves better and maintain a standard that's expected. And you need to hope that guys like Lowry and McCann, Nathan Paterson previously as well, that these guys are taking it on board and using it in their favour.
I think sometimes as well money has an impact on it.
Of course it does.
You see a lot of this down south. I think very, very young guys on huge amounts of money, and that has if someone's blowing up your ass 24 hours a day and telling you they're the greatest thing since sliced bread, then there's every chance you're going to become a person who thinks that you're the greatest thing since sliced bread, and that can turn you into someone who doesn't train properly. You just think everything's going to land on your lap. And it's. I think sometimes the clubs can do more to support players and these things, but you can't legislate for some people's characters. You know what I mean? Some people are just beyond help, I think.
And I'll tell you, in that case, there's a sort of penny for Nathan Paterson's thoughts right now. He goes down to Everton. He ain't cutting the mustard. He's largely uninvolved, and Everton are in a really, really tricky place in that league this season. He could potentially be playing championship football next season. We hope he's not, and we continue to monitor his progress, and we hope that he is in the top league. But it's a tough time for him.
Yeah, I think he was unlucky though with the management change. Just literally, I mean, he was walking in the door, wasn't he? As the old boy was walking out, and Lampard was coming in. So I think he's been a wee bit unlucky. I think it's a wee bit soon to sort of judge where he's heading at the moment. But and I mean, you look at Danny Wilson. It's it really is difficult for young players, because I felt going to Liverpool at that time was the wrong thing to do. You could argue that going to Everton now is maybe going to prove to be the wrong thing for Nathan Paterson. But financially, and especially Danny Wilson, Liverpool are champing at the door. Kenny Dalglish is champing at his door saying, do you want to play for Liverpool? You might never get that opportunity again, So even although, I'm sure Danny Wilson will look back and think, well, that's probably where my career started going a wee bit south. At the time, you're not really in a position to say no. It's very, very difficult for these young guys not to take that sort of move. So it's tricky. It's a tricky thing.
So Gary, sorry, you go, buddy.
I was going to say, I remember Mark Warburton had said something that he found down south with players and like youth players, and it was like 18-year-old getting £10,000, £20,000. He says, how can you motivate a player to become better? Because they have got as far as they probably need to go, if you know what I mean. So it is quite hard. It's probably easy for us to talk about it. We've never been in that position ourselves, but
well, that's not through the net, Gary. You know what I mean? It's just one of the things.
I take the road to drinking women. That's what that could
be. Gary, so we obviously listen. We know we're now into the semi-finals. You got a preference about who we draw next?
I wouldn't mind Celtic. I'd love to get revenge on Hibs in a final, to be honest. But I don't care. As long as we win it, I don't care.
And Colin, same one to you?
Just want to win it, and it's been too long no winning that Scottish Cup.
Agreed.
It's actually a trophy that we seem to be a bit cursed in. When I saw Rangers win a cup for the first time, it was 92 against Airdrie. I think they'd went 11 years without winning it at that point. Earlier on in our history, we went 25 years without winning it. Cup hoodoo and all that. So it does seem to be a competition that we are a bit cursed in. And what was it? 2009 was the last time we won it. World Cup. So
aye,
it's long overdue. I would love to see the Scottish Cup back at Ibrox, along with the league and the Europa League. That's all I ask for.
That would be a lovely treble, wouldn't it? Goodness me.
So it's a treble that's not getting talked about enough, to be honest with you. But
absolutely, aye. Listen, so we'll move quite nicely onto the Europa League. Huge game on Thursday, Colin. How confident are you right now going into that tie, knowing what you know?
I think we've got every reason to be confident. When you look at where Rangers are in Europe and where they've been over the last 3-4 years, when we got back from the game on Thursday, I said to my son, I was like, by the way, this is not normal. This level of consistency in Europe. Because it's been a level of consistency, and it feels to me that we've earned the right to get to that quarter final, because we've reached the last 16 the last 2 or 3 years. It would be fitting to show that this team's progressing and learning, that we take that next step. And so I'm sitting down, like my first European game was Rangers against Sparta Prague. Was it Sparta Prague? And we won 2-1 on the night, but we went out and away goals. Andy Gorham and Scott Nisbet contrived to shaft us when we were 2-0 up. Stuart McCall had scored twice. So I think I was like 18 at the time, 17, 18, something like that. My son's 16, right? He's 17 next month, or a couple of months, sorry. And we were going through the teams that he's seen already. We went through them sort of chronological order. It was like Rapid Vienna, Spartak Moscow, and then the following year it was Feyenoord and Porto, and then what was the Spanish team we got? Villarreal. And he should have seen Galatasaray and Benfica and all the teams that we didn't see last year because of COVID. Braga, Leverkusen. Then this year, he's had the group stages, and he's had Dortmund, and now he's had Red Star. And I had a huge list, and I was like, you know what I mean? Rangers weren't in Europe long enough when I was that age to amass that sort of European experience and nights under the lights and all that kind of thing. So, we have done really, really well in this competition over the last few years. We've shown time and time again that we're a strong Europa League team. We can compete at this level. I think we'll score over there. I'm struggling to remember a time that we went away and didn't
not
score.
scored. Yeah.
So, and I think if we get the goal, even though the away goals thing is gone now, I think we're pretty much as good as through at that point. So it's not done. I'm not saying it's done. That I think the first 20 minutes could be telling. You can see the early, then all of a sudden it becomes, a different game altogether. But I don't think we've got anything to be afraid of. We've went to tougher places in Red Star and won. It'll be a tricky game, but I'm confident Rangers will go through. I think they'll go through in the quarterfinals.
It's a lottery, isn't it?
I keep on saying to my son, once you get to the quarterfinals of a European competition, you've got momentum behind you, you've got belief behind you, you get a decent draw, and all of a sudden you're in the semis, and then you really start to believe, we can reach this final here. Yeah. And so once you're in the quarterfinals, it's game on. You know what I mean? So hopefully come Friday morning, that's where we'll be.
Gary, if you've got the opportunity to go to Serbia, do you start with the back three that worked so well at Ibrox last week?
Yes.
You have to, don't you? I mean, I think Lundstrom played the two-guy role so well.
Aye. I can't believe how much he's improved the last 4 months.
Yeah.
I would have happily seen him leave in January.
Aye.
And he's turned into a vital player for us, especially in Europe.
And are you confident going across there on Thursday, Gary?
I agree with Colin. I think we'll score a goal over there, and I can't see them scoring 4 against us. But to me, it's the kind of same scenario as the Dortmund game. If we didn't do nothing stupid, I didn't see why we can't be in the quarter-final draw come Friday, and then it's 4 games away for a European final, potentially.
And see, that's the thing that I find a wee bit hard to sort of compute a wee bit, just how close we are. I think because for a lot of different reasons, because of the way that the seasons went, because of, do you know what I mean, the change of manager, the new regime coming in, the things haven't been great since January. For what it's worth, I think the performance today is probably the best performance we've seen this year so far on a cow field. And I just think it's incredible to think we're so close to getting into the sort of last 8 of a major European tournament, Colin. We go over there on Thursday with 3 guys on yellow cards, guys that are playing relatively big parts in our success. Lundstrom, Morelos, I think Sakala's on a yellow as well. I wonder how cleverly these guys will be used across there on Thursday night.
I mean, if Morelos is on a yellow, I wouldn't be surprised if Roof starts then. And maybe that's why he never started today. I don't know. But I mean, that's part and parcel of it, isn't it? You're going to pick up bookings. If you're going into the latter stages of competitions, you're going to pick up bookings, and you just need to sort of roll with the punches. Although Morelos would be a huge miss if he did pick up a booking. But yeah, I mean, the main thing for me in terms of if we do reach the quarterfinals is, again, alluding to my son, he had an atrocious sort of introduction to Rangers. They were in the bottom tier of Scottish football, being laughed at, mocked, and we've had some horrendous days. We were in the Governorshire that day. We got beat off Celtic 5-1. Some right horrendous days when you're thinking, this is brutal. So we were the last Scottish team to get to a quarter final in Europe. In 2008. We've been kicked into the lower sort of levels of Scottish football. We've had to climb all the way back up, and here we are on the brink of qualifying for the quarterfinals, European competition. And in that same period, Celtic, who were the kings of Scotland and all the rest of it, have come nowhere near that level of consistency in Europe. They've come nowhere near that stage in Europe in terms of a quarterfinal. So it would be some achievement, and again, one in my opinion that's not getting enough credit at all. We have pretty much single-handedly built up the coefficient points ourselves, because no one else in Scotland is performing, including Celtic in Europe. So it would be a great night if we got through. And I was saying that to my son. I said, you need to go in and tell all the wee Celtic fan mates they were going on about their 10 in a row and all this kind of stuff. And how many quarterfinals are you seeing your club in, mate? You know what I mean? Because they've not seen it. So, it would be a huge moment for Rangers to reach that quarterfinal, and obviously I hope they do, and I think they will.
The thing that gives me probably a bit more confidence, Gary, and I've said for probably since Dortmund that I almost felt, because we took care of them so professionally and well in Germany, I don't think we really have a huge deal to fear in Belgrade. I think the biggest problem I think will be how busy it is and how loud it is. I think that'll be the thing that may, I don't want to say spook them. I almost wonder if the not having any other support at Celtic Park at the beginning of February was part of the problem and why we played so poorly. I imagine the atmosphere over there on Thursday will be similar to that. It'll be noisy, it'll be red hot. And Belgrade, of course, need to come out and really start from the off and have a right good go at us. That, in the same breath, can work in our favour, because we know that when teams are offensive against us, we look a whole lot better than teams that sit in.
Yeah, I think European football really suits us, the players we've got in the system we play. But if it was me anyway, I'd be trying to say to the players, get that crowd turning. Turn on, because the amount of times that teams try and do that at Ibrox with us, and I've seen it as worked to try to do it to Rangers. But yeah, they'd just try and play our game, as you say, be professional, because it's in our own hands, eh?
And Colin, one thing that surprised me, I didn't think defensively they were great at all. Morelos absolutely battered them. Yeah. Certainly in the first half on Thursday night. If he does start on Thursday, if he can play to that sort of standard again, I think we'll be in good stead on Thursday night.
I agree with Gary. I think European football suits us, and I've never seen us go away and really be,
overawed.
Aye, for the full 90. We've went through periods, and you've got to sort of get through periods in games. That happens to every team. You're not going to dominate, especially at that level of competition. You're not going to dominate for the full 90 minutes. But I think we showed in Dortmund, and I think it was interesting what we've done in Dortmund. We seem to try and press them higher up the park. You know what I mean? And I think it would be quite interesting to do that again, if we'd done that again, on Thursday, because I don't want to sit back and take on too much, if you know what I mean, and defend too deep and build pressure and momentum onto us, because I think eventually at some point you're going to concede. It's
not good for your heart either, mate.
No, it's really not good for your heart. When you're approaching 50 like me, anyway, that's for sure. But it's also, I think, given the players that we've had and have at the moment, Ryan Kent. I mean, even I always felt Brandon Barker played up well. He had a really good performance over in Porto.
Yeah, he
because
was.
It suited him. He would just sit, and the minute we broke down the play, Kent and Barker were away and causing mayhem. And because they need goals, they are going to come at us. So I think it's about us setting traps and try to get turnovers of possession and all that kind of stuff, and then go and try and hit them on the break. And we've got players that can do that. There's absolutely no doubt. We've got players like Ryan Jack's a master at that, at breaking up the play.
Yeah.
Just taking momentum out of teams' attacks and stuff like that, and then just transitioning the possession, and all of a sudden they're on the back foot. And if they move it quickly enough, and then that might spook them. They might think, right, okay, we'll need to be a wee bit more measured in how we attack, because if we just go all out gung ho, if we concede, because if they concede, I think it's over. I can't see them scoring 5. So as much as they'll say, right, it's their chance now to have a right go, they've also got to watch that back door, because if they concede, then they've left themselves a real mountain to climb.
Absolutely. So listen, that'll do us, I think, for another week. Gary, good spending Sunday with you, my friend. I'm sure we'll do it again in the future.
Yeah, hopefully. Can't wait.
Absolutely, you and I both, buddy. And Colin, always good to have you on, buddy. Thanks for coming on.
Absolutely, no problem. It was good to enjoy the love fest between you two.
Absolutely. So listen,
two neighbours.
We should say we're very aware we are at our naked best tonight, so we don't have the streaming information along the sides or at the bottom of your screen. However, we thank you for watching as always. Of course, a quick wee word to our friends across again at Zenith Coins. They are currently pulling together a must-have for all Rangers fans. It's the Rangers Coin Collection. 5 wonderfully unique coins, the founding fathers, Ibrox Stadium, the Barcelona Bears from 1972, 9 in a row celebrations, of course, and the guys that won 55 last season. Jump on their website, have a look, all the W's, zenithcoins.com. You can also catch us at Gersnet across our forum, all the W's, gersnet.co.uk. Jump on and have a look if you please. I think we will probably have something in the pipeline to preview the game on Thursday midweek. I'm sure you'll be able to catch up further details on that across our social media channels. For now, have a great week. Good luck to Rangers on Thursday when it comes,